Another shooting in North York tonight. One person has been rushed to hospital via emergency run. We'll take you live to the city's latest crime scene coming up.
And the premier speaks out about the LCBO strike. He's doubling down on his government's plans for liquor sales.
And we've been talking about it for months, but could the drive on the Gardiner finally get better? The city says it's looking at options to speed up construction. This is a live shot of the Expressway tonight.
This is Live at 5. Good evening. I'm Bakari Sapp.
And I'm Lena Latafat. Thank you for joining us here on Live at 5. We are following developing news. One person has been rushed to hospital following a shooting in North York this afternoon.
Yeah, it happened just before 4 o'clock on Signet Drive near Stills Avenue. And police say that the victim was taken to hospital via emergency run. Paramedics tell us that they transported an adult with life-threatening condition injuries. Investigators say an SUV was seen driving away from the area, but there's no suspect description just yet. And drivers are being asked to avoid the area as Signet Drive is closed for the investigation.
Well, Premier Doug Ford is standing by his government's plan to expand alcohol sales as a strike by LCBO workers is nearing the 1-week mark. But the union is also standing strong.
And for the latest, let's go live to CP24's Beatrice Baseman. Beatrice.
Bakari, the soundbite that's being played across the province this afternoon is Premier Doug Ford saying that ship has sailed. In fact, that ship is already in the middle of Lake Ontario. And what he means by that ship, it's the ship to go back on the plan to expand ready-to-drink beverages to grocery stores, corner stores, gas stations across the province. The Premier is saying it's a non-negotiable. We're live at a distribution center here in Mississauga. You not only see some of these OPSU workers on the picket line, but you might notice some trucks behind them. There are dozens of trucks here outside the distribution center lined up because these workers have prevented these trucks from going in so that they can get restocked full of alcohol and then back out to stores and other places like bars, restaurants, for example, that need liquor. So when it comes to the Premier and his strong words about the status of negotiations, here's what we heard from Doug Ford out in Etobicoke this morning.
If they want to negotiate over RTD, the deal's off. I'm going to repeat that. That ship has sailed. I've told the employees that the deal is off. It represents a very small percentage of overall sales, and we're putting those into retail. We're putting them in LCBO and convenience stores. And you can't compare a cooler to a bottle of vodka or a bottle of whiskey.
And so you heard the Premier there say if OPSU's negotiations hinge on the province going back on its plan to expand alcohol sales, that's not going to happen. According to the Premier, they're plowing ahead full throttle with that. The Premier is saying he's talked to hundreds, maybe thousands of LCBO workers over the course of the last several weeks, saying they've been telling him that their biggest concerns, their chief concerns are job security, wages and benefits. When it comes to job security, it's absolutely true. I've been talking to some of these workers out here on the picket line, including one woman who told me she worked for 16 and a half years, casual, part-time, until she finally got full-time just a few weeks ago and is now on a 6-month probation for a job that she's had for almost 2 decades, nonetheless. The Premier also meeting with about 6 LCBO workers who were at that press conference. They wanted to talk to him. They got to talk to him afterwards. And again, one of the workers came out and talked about the fact that job security is the #1 concern for her. She wants to make a career out of this, and she wants to know that that job is going to be there for her. When it comes to the union's position, here's what the chair of the bargaining committee for OPSU told me outside of this distribution center here in Mississauga.
Doug calls himself a businessman, and I want to know what business person gives away some of their most profitable products and the largest growing market really right now, and gives it away to everybody else, and then will eventually strip revenues out of the LCBO. We see this. We know this as workers. So we're standing here saying, look, Doug, we know this as workers, and you're trying to talk to our members and tell them that this is not what you're doing, but that's not what we see.
And Colleen McLeod, they're also talking about these ready-to-drink cocktails in cans that are coming to grocery stores, corner stores, and convenience stores by September, Lena and Bakari. So the Premier is saying he's optimistic a deal can be reached, but it's quite clear two sides very far apart. There have been no negotiations since these workers walked off the job on July 5th, and there's no dates scheduled as of right this moment for any negotiations to happen. Back to you.
Not a good sign at all. Beatrice Faceman reporting live from a picket line. Thanks so much, Beatrice. Well, getting around Toronto can be a challenge, and now city staff are preparing to present options to speed up construction on the Gardiner, a major source of gridlock and frustration for drivers in Toronto.
Yeah, and for more on this, let's go live to CP24's Cija Liu. Cija.
Bakari, Lena, surprisingly, the Gardiner is not too bad for the evening commute right now. It's actually moving quite smoothly. However, this has not been the case since construction started earlier this year. Now the city is continuing to look at ways to speed up construction on the Gardiner. The city manager says some of those options include extending work hours, adding extra crews, adding more equipment, and looking at ways to speed up the production of construction materials. Now, all these measures were discussed at a meeting with industry experts last month, and they are continuing to work on the feasibility of these options. Right now, the expressway construction is slated to take 3 years, but the city's manager says even if they do add these options, this is not going to be an overnight fix, and that we should be realistic with our expectation that even with these measures, this is not a project that will be finished by the end of the summer. Now, some of the challenges when it comes to putting together a construction acceleration plan, according to the city manager, include the supply chain. They have to look at how quickly supplies can be delivered and whether everything can fit together with their plan. Now, the city has been working on some things already. For example, they've already allowed some overnight work to be done, extending the construction work. They've worked on some traffic timing signals and also reopened the Jameson on-ramp to alleviate the congestion. But as for the construction on the Gardiner, it is an ongoing problem. According to a recent report, since the construction started, the morning and evening commute has increased by 250%. So as of right now, the Gardiner isn't looking too bad, but the city will be working on those plans, and they hope to present those 4 options to council later this month. Back to you.
All right, Cija Liu reporting live from the Gardiner. Thank you so much, Cija. Well, Toronto and much of the province have been hit by some seriously wet weather due to the remnants of Hurricane Beryl. That's a live shot of the CN Tower. A lot of cloud cover tonight. Environment Canada warning of torrential rainfall. It says between 40 to 60 millimeters could come down in the GTA, but right now we are seeing a lull in the rainfall in the downtown core.
I love the rain. We are an outdoor camp, rain or shine. So we are continuing. Our kids are out. We're hiking. We're doing all the stuff.
I'm really not impacted at all. Get out when it's not raining and make the best of it.
It's impacting me greatly because I can't go swimming. I need sun. Bring the sun, people.
Definitely missing the sun this evening. This is a live shot of more conditions in our city. Again, we are dry for now, but up to 80 millimeters is possible around Lake Huron and eastern Ontario.
Okay, with that, it's now 5:08, 22 degrees. Let's get a check on the commute with Heather Seaman. Heather, the rain, there's a bit of a lull. How is that affecting traffic right now?
Well, you know what? Traffic improves when the roads are dry, which is typical. People feel more confident on the roads. As you can see, the roads are dry here. And some good news, 401 at James Snow Parkway. We had a closure there, the HOV lanes, both east and westbound because of a crash earlier in the eastbound lanes and a rollover. That happened around 6 a.m. and just in the last 20 minutes or so, they've cleared that crash. Let me just go back to that camera. So we're still seeing some volume through that stretch, but much improved. We still have that issue on the 401 westbound collectors at Markham Road. We have a stalled vehicle. It's blocking the right lane and right shoulder, but traffic is getting by. Let's bring up another camera, Don Valley Parkway. We're seeing that volume off and on from north of Dundas to north of Lawrence. Just volume there. Some earlier issues, eastbound Gardiner is stalled. That has cleared at Kipling, but we're still seeing volume as you head into the downtown core. Eastbound from Parkside to Dufferin, and westbound on the Gardiner from about Jarvis to Bathurst. That's it. Back to you.
This CP24 traffic report is brought to you by 407 ETR. Enjoy the journey with a stress-free commute.
Heather, thanks so much. Police were investigating a shooting near Queen and Dovercourt this hour.
They were called just before 4:30 this morning for shooting that happened outside. They found a man had been shot in the leg. Those injuries are not believed to be life-threatening, but there's still no word on a suspect.
And police are looking for a man after a reported random assault on the TTC. It happened yesterday around 3 p.m. as a subway train was arriving at Davisville Station. Police say the suspect followed the victim off the train, assaulted him, and the victim fell off the platform onto the tracks and hit his head. The suspect reboarded the subway onto the departing train. The suspect, described as 20 to 30 years old, with short black hair. He was last seen wearing a black golf shirt, black pants, and white Nike shoes. He was also carrying a black backpack and a scooter.
Well, a 30-year-old man from Toronto is facing a slew of charges in relation to an extortion investigation in Peel region. And police allege Jaskaran Singh used violent threats and property offenses to extort people throughout the GTA since last December. And Singh is facing extortion and various firearm offenses. Peel police say that Singh was granted bail and is currently on a court order with conditions.
York Regional Police have identified a Toronto man who was wanted as part of an investigation into a large-scale gun and drug trafficking network.
Yeah, they're looking for 26-year-old Lucas Justin Afork for weapons trafficking and firearm possession. Investigators say Afork should be considered armed and dangerous. And they're encouraging him to seek legal counsel and turn himself in. This is part of the Project Lookout investigation in York Region, which has already seen 20 people arrested.
The Ontario government investing an additional $10 million to help nurses train in delivery emergency department care.
Through a variety of initiatives, such as virtual training modules, immersion programs to support hands-on education, and a specialty training fund, our investment will bolster, stabilize, and maintain the nursing workforce in emergency departments across Ontario, especially in rural and remote hospitals, to connect more people to critical care close to home.
The Emergency Department Nursing Education, Retention, and Workforce Program was launched last year and has already helped 400 nurses from 72 rural and remote hospitals receiving this upskill training.
Well, hospital workers demonstrated outside of MPP Michael Ford's office this morning, demanding an end to healthcare privatization.
The reality is you've got a fixed number of people who are qualified, to do operations or to operate this machinery. So how do you recruit people to go to work in a private surgery or a private diagnostic? You offer them more money so that they'll leave the public system to work in the private system. So what's the consequence of that? You have an increasing staff shortage going on in the public system. The wait times increase.
Well, the province recently announced that it would be doubling the number of available private MRI and CT scans. Healthcare unions say that's only contributing to the staffing crisis. The unions want the government to find ways to entice more workers into the health profession and find ways to keep them in the industry.
5:13, 22 degrees. This is Live at 5.
We're going to have an update on the status of the Science Center, which that's set for tomorrow. We'll have all you need to know coming up next.
Welcome back. The province is expected to provide more information tomorrow about its decision to shut down the Science Center.
Okay, for a preview, let's go live to CP24's Lindsay Biscayne. Lindsay, there's been a lot of back and forth.
Yeah, and a lot of really negative reaction to this decision. You probably remember it was just a couple of weeks ago now, late on a Friday afternoon, when the Ontario Science Centre was just suddenly shut permanently. And since then, there's been kind of a ripple effect of parents being reimbursed for summer camp programs, a lot of rallies and protests happening outside of the Science Centre for people who really don't want to see this facility shuttered. Now, the provincial government said that they needed to close it because there was some issues with failing roof panels. That's according to an engineering report that the province had done. And the province claimed it was a safety issue and that it needed to be closed. And we know at this point that Premier Doug Ford has said he's not going to go back on that decision. He's not going to change his mind. It would cost apparently more than $500 million to fix. And the Ford government doesn't want to put that money into the Science Centre. We also heard from the Premier today that it's not just the roof. It's actually apparently top to bottom issues with the facility. Here's more from Premier Doug Ford.
It would cost minimum, close to $500 million. It would shut the Ontario Science Centre down. What we're going to do, we're going to build a state-of-the-art, world-class facility that people can come, and it's going to be more exhibit space. They're going to have more tourists come by, and it's going to just be spectacular.
So critics not happy with this move, of course, calling this more politically motivated than it is a safety concern. We've also heard actually from the firm of the late architect who designed the building, and the firm says that it's willing to actually repair the building for free. So this would be at no cost to the provincial government. Still waiting to hear a response from the provincial government on that offer from that firm. But again, maybe we'll hear that response tomorrow. Lena and Bakari, again, that news conference set for tomorrow. We're expected to hear more from the Premier, but he has said he's not going to change his mind. Back to you.
Okay, I'm sure lots of people will have questions for Doug Ford tomorrow. We'll be watching that very closely. Lindsay Biscaya live in studio tonight. Thank you.
All right, it's 5:17, 22 degrees. This is Live at 5. And coming up, more on our top story tonight. One person is in life-threatening condition following a shooting in North York. Our Andrew Brennan is on the scene. We're following developing news tonight. One person's been rushed to hospital. This is following a shooting in North York.
CP24's Andrew Brennan has just arrived on scene. He joins us live with the very latest. Andrew.
Good afternoon, Bakari and Lena. And just as we arrived, Signet, which is one of the cross streets, back streets here off of Steeles, it was just reopened. But where we're standing right now, this is where the scene is still somewhat active, even though the police have reopened it. We have been told that a victim, we do not have much in terms of information on this person, was transported via emergency run. They are considered to have life-threatening injuries. This, again, Signet Drive has been reopened. We are just north of, I should say just south of Steeles right now. The police saying at this time that they saw that an SUV was seen by a witness fleeing the area following this shooting, which took place just before 4 o'clock. Now, like I said, this is still an active scene. There is a lot of industrial warehouses in this part of North Etobicoke into North York, and this area has been, is largely industrial, but there are a lot of pockets of businesses that have daytime hours with people coming and going. This scene surrounding what is a shipping company for worldwide goods. In terms of what police are looking for, it remains to be seen how many suspects are being sought. There's not many evidence markers here, but this is a shipping warehouse that seems to have daytime hours and a decent amount of foot traffic coming in and out. Police maintaining a perimeter just around the building. Again, they have reopened Signet Drive, which is used as a back road to get to and from Steeles and over to the 407. But at this time, someone's life may be hanging in the balance. We are told at last indication from Toronto police that this person has been taken to hospital with life-threatening injuries. Awaiting that update. That being said, right now we will stay at the scene and look for any more updates we can get and see if there's anyone who potentially saw anything in this industrial area. For now, Lena Bakari, I'll send it back to you as we look and see what's happening with this developing story.
Okay, CP24's Andrew Brennan reporting live from the latest shooting, this time in North York. Well, the president of Hot Docs has resigned.
Marie Nelson leaves her position as head of the Trouble Documentary Film Festival after about a year at the helm. Hot Docs says this past year, average per-screening attendance reached near pre-pandemic levels, and box office revenue exceeded its target by 12%. Interim Executive Director Janice Daw and Managing Director Heidi Tao Yang are now in charge.
Okay, right now it's 5:22, 22 degrees. This is Live at 5. And coming up, more on the contentious strike at the LCBO and the impact on local business. We're going to have that conversation next.
More now on one of our top stories this week. There doesn't seem to be much progress when it comes to the strike at the LCBO. Both sides seem very far apart. And with more on the impact of the strike and the issues on the table, we're joined live now by Dan Kelly, President and CEO of the Canadian Federation of Independent Business. Dan, thank you for making time for us here on Live at 5.
Good to be with you.
Look, things do not look good. These two sides could not be further apart. What are you hearing about how this is impacting business in Ontario?
Well, look, it's a mixed bag. I think that there are some sectors of the economy that are getting hit pretty hard by the strike. There's certainly some messages from restaurant owners about the fact that while conceptually there are ways for them still to receive shipments of alcohol, it has become harder for that to happen and more expensive for them to get the supplies that they need, especially in the quantities that might be needed on a regular basis. But for other business sectors, other small businesses, this is a huge opportunity. There's one of the central debates is around the move towards more private retailing of alcohol in Ontario, and many Ontarians are now buying alcohol from some of these private retailers that they may not have in the past, and likely will not return to the LCBO after. So this is why I think it's a really dangerous move on the part of the union to be striking at this moment.
Dangerous indeed. The finance minister, as you know, has directed the LCBO to also promote Ontario-made products in stores once alcohol availability expands. Dan, what are you hearing about that? What's the reaction been like?
That is a terrific measure, and we're happy that the finance minister has moved and has cited that as a specific objective of the LCBO. That we fully support, as we do the Ford government's move to allow more private retailing, including on smaller businesses like convenience stores. And I think Ontarians are now experiencing the benefits of some of that. The monopoly, I understand why the union wants to protect its near monopoly on liquor retail in Ontario. But at the same time, Ontarians right now are experiencing the perils of that by putting all of our eggs in that one basket. It is good that steps have been taken to diversify, and now we have some larger players, private boutiques and grocery stores that are in the market. But gosh, once we do have the private sector involved in this, we expect that there's going to be many more job opportunities for Ontarians in liquor retail, more revenue for the potential for the provincial government, and consumers will not be as hamstrung as they are right now during the strike.
Yeah, a lot could change, that is for sure. You talked about the businesses that are seeing an influx of new customers. How are they keeping up with demand?
Yeah, that has been a bit tough. Now, they are, of course, able to divert because some of them are no longer able to supply the LCBO with the quantities that they've required in the past, given that they're shut down. So some of it is there, but there's no question that a lot of businesses are just not prepared for the increase in volume that they are seeing right now. They're doing their best to meet the demand. And of course, for these businesses, it is make it or break it. If you want to be able to, this is a great opportunity for them to show what they can do in the quality of their products to Ontarians that may have a new appetite for it, in that their traditional channels, traditional products may be more limited. So businesses want to get this right, and they're doing their absolute best to make that happen. And I guess I just urge Ontarians to be patient as they go forward and try out some of these new private sector options that have popped up over the last number of years.
Dan Kelly, President and CEO of the Canadian Federation of Independent Business. Thank you for your perspective tonight. Appreciate it.
Anytime.
It's 5:28, 22 degrees. This is Live at 5. We're following developing news in North York. One person is in critical condition after a shooting this afternoon. Our Andrew Brennan is at the scene. He's going to have the latest coming up live. Another shooting in North York tonight. One person has been rushed to hospital via emergency run. We're going to take you live to the city's latest crime scene.
The premier speaks out about the LCBO strike, and he is doubling down on his government's plans for liquor sales.
And don't forget the rain gear. Hurricane Beryl's remnants bringing down heavy downpours to the GTHA.
This is Live at 5. Good evening. Thank you for joining us. I'm Lena Latifat.
And I'm Bakari Savage. We're following developing news tonight. One person's been rushed to hospital. This is following a shooting in North York.
CP24's Andrew Brennan is on the scene with the very latest. Andrew.
Well, very latest, Lena Bakari. We just see a duty inspector show up not long ago. Potentially, that indicates there could be an update for us coming from police. As of right now, though, what we can say is that the area around Signet, which is a side street not far off of Weston Road, and just near Kiel, just near Kiel, and at the cross street of Steeles, this area had been closed since the shooting took place around 3:55, according to police. That was reopened. There's still a lot of police here. And in terms of what went down or whether it was inside, for instance, the building, which is a shipping company that's been cordoned off, or outside in the street, we don't know based on what police have been saying thus far. All they've said is that they have a victim who was rushed to hospital by emergency run, and they have injuries considered to be life-threatening. And then also that there is believed to have been a suspect seen fleeing in an SUV, but not much of an update in terms of they're seeking one person or multiple. That all hopefully will be elucidated by Toronto police in the coming hours, or potentially even sooner, now that there is a duty inspector on scene that's speaking with some witnesses as well as some of the rank and file. What we can say right now is that this is the second shooting in as many days in this neighborhood. You recall yesterday at Keele and Wilson, which is about a 10-minute drive from where we are right now, there was a shooting there. This, again, second shooting in as many days out here in North York. This area is a largely industrial area known for having garages and parts and warehouses for vehicles and for construction companies. There's not a lot of foot traffic that comes here. A lot of times it's normally small businesses that have specific customers coming to them during daytime hours. It remains to be seen again if this took place inside the business or outside. We'll keep everyone apprised as we get more information from Toronto police. That being said, right now we'll send it back inside to you both.
All right, Andrew Brennan live in North York tonight working on this developing story. Thank you, Andrew. Premier Doug Ford is standing by his government's plan to expand alcohol sales as a strike by LCBO workers continues.
Yeah, Ford visited a brewery in Etobicoke today. This is where he said the move will help will help provide people with more choice and convenience. He claims that the status quo favors big businesses and the expansion will create new opportunities for wineries, distilleries, and breweries. Ford's also refusing to budge on allowing ready-to-drink cocktails to be sold at convenience and grocery stores, which has been a point of contention in bargaining talks.
I firmly believe LCBO and OPSU can reach a deal that respects our amazing frontline workers and gets them back serving customers. Let's not forget, last week, the LCBO made a fair and reasonable offer, an offer that puts forward solutions to address job security and enhance benefits for workers. It converts 400 casual employees to permanent full-time and offers a 7% wage increase over 3 years. Unfortunately, OPSU still hasn't responded to this offer.
The strike is nearing the 1-week mark, and there is no sign a resolution will be reached soon. Thousands of unionized staff walked off the job last Friday, leading to the closure of stores across the province. The union is concerned the Ford government's plan to expand alcohol sales could lead to major job losses, and some LCBO workers had the chance to meet with the Premier today to highlight their concerns in person.
What I care about the most is, do I want alcohol to be super accessible, right? That's my thing, the convenience of it, ready to drink drinks everywhere. For me personally, I actually kind of like the way that Ontario has been doing it, right? Keep it within the LCBO, not as accessible.
Well, there are currently no plans for another round of talks between the union and the LCBO.
Well, getting around Toronto can be a challenge, as most of us know. And the drive on the Gardiner, well, that can be horrendous. Now, city staff are preparing to present options to speed up construction on the Gardiner. That's a major source of gridlock and frustration for drivers.
All right, let's go live to CP24. Sija Liu with more on this. Sija.
Hi, Bakari. Traffic on the Gardiner has been picking up over the last half an hour for the evening commute, and the city is continuing to look at ways to speed up the construction of the expressway. 4 options they're looking at right now, including adding additional staff, adding extra equipment, extending working hours, and looking at ways to speed up the production of construction materials. For more insight on this, let's bring in live Councillor Brad Bradford. Councillor, we appreciate your time today. To start off, we'd like to get your thoughts on what you think about the feasibility and effectiveness of these proposed measures.
Well, just like those folks on the Gardiner, we're still waiting for clarity from staff on this. I mean, there's a lot of good ideas that have been kicked around on this. 24/7 construction, which I've been calling for a number of months. The idea of doing prefabricated installations and bringing it onto the site and ramping up the number of workers who are available to advance construction. But, you know, it's been several months. The report is still not in front of us, and I'm told that it will be even further delayed until we can actually move forward with it in the fall. Torontonians are frustrated. It's choking our economy. It's killing small business, and we have to bring this to a resolution much faster.
Well, help us understand what may be causing the slowdown here, or the different steps you need to take in order to put together a plan.
Well, this is the busiest section of the Gardiner. We're calling it Stage 2 as part of the rebuild and rehabilitation of the Gardiner. So you actually have to take it down and reconstruct it. It's infrastructure that's 50, 60, 70 years old, and it's at its end of life. So it's a very involved process. But the idea that the mayor would bring forward an approach that was very similar to other sections of the Gardiner that had much closer proximity to some of the residential uses, and that meant really balancing the construction time with trade-offs of folks who are living closer by. That is not the case here. If you're familiar with the site and where you are right now, you've got exhibition grounds to the south, you've got a lot of commercial activity to the north. So we really needed to be going 24/7 on this job site right from the get-go, and the contract should have been set up that way from the beginning. We're now in the unfortunate position where traffic has increased 250% during rush hour. Commuters are on the hook. It takes them longer to get to the job site, to the office, longer to get home to their families at the end of the day. And the mayor and the administration are now trying to, from a position of weakness, not a position of leverage, go back and figure out a new contract. So that's what the holdup is. That's going to take some time. I'm sure it's going to cost a lot more doing it that way. But at the end of the day, we have to get people moving back to work, back home to their families at the end of the day. A 3-year project of this size and magnitude is totally unacceptable in Toronto.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Councillor. We appreciate your time today. Thanks for being with us.
See you soon.
Well, Bakari, like he mentioned, this is a 3-year project, and the next step here is for city staff to look at those plans, assess the feasibility, and they will present those plans to council at the end of July. Back to you.
All right, CP24, CJ Lou, thanks a lot. And as you can see where CJ is, it's not raining. It's been wet off and on today as the remnants of Hurricane Beryl move through southern Ontario.
Yeah, this is a live shot of conditions. As Bakari mentioned, we are dry for now, but we've been dealing with that rainfall all day. That rainfall warning for Environment Canada, that still remains in effect with showers that could be heavy at times tonight with the risk of a thunderstorm early this evening. So don't put away the rain gear just yet. That's really the message for you. We could see a further 10 to 15 millimeters of rain before it tapers off early tomorrow.
Yeah, it's 5:39, 22 degrees and dry for now. Let's get a check on the commute with Heather Seaman. Hey, Heather.
Hey there. Yeah, you're right. Dry for now, but we're expecting more wet weather this evening. Just watching some developing situation on the 401. Ministry of Transportation just moving the cameras around. So we'll keep an eye on that. See some flashing lights in the distance, an ambulance, eastbound 401 near James Snow Parkway. So we'll get on top of that and find out what's going on. This is developing right now. Some earlier issues. We had a crash and rollover that was blocking the HOV lanes. That has since cleared, but once again, the 401, the exit ramp there, heading to Trafalgar, we have an issue. We'll get on that and bring you an update. Another issue, westbound 401 Express at near Jane Street. We have 2 left lanes blocked with an earlier problem. It may have been an earlier vehicle fire that we were dealing with. Don Valley Parkway, that is jamming up from Millwood to north of Lawrence. And the Gardiner, that's busy in and out of the downtown core, busiest from about Jarvis to west of Strawn. Off the major routes, not aware of any serious crashes. That's it. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Heather. Appreciate that. Mississauga's mayor has announced a task force to address the housing crisis in that city.
Yeah, the working group includes representatives from both the private and not-for-profit sectors, as well as key city planning and building staff. They gathered today alongside Mayor Carolyn Parrish for their first meeting to discuss innovative ways to make housing approvals more efficient. The task force is part of the city's housing action plan announced last year.
It's 5:41, 22 degrees. You're watching Live at 5. An update on the status of the Science Center that is set for tomorrow. Premier Doug Ford will be talking about it and taking questions. We'll tell you what you need to know coming up.
And the province is expected to provide more information tomorrow about its decision to shut down the Science Center.
And for a preview, let's go live to CP24's Lindsay Biscaya. The premier will be fielding a lot of questions about this one, Lindsay.
Yeah, I think so, Bakari and Lena. That's probably what we can expect, especially because there hasn't been too many options so far to actually ask the premier about this move, even though it's been quite a few weeks now since the Ontario Science Centre was shuttered for good. Something that really shocked people on a Friday afternoon when there was plans for summer camp, for a lot of different programs happening throughout the rest of the year at the Ontario Science Centre. It was abruptly closed, with the Ford government saying, citing safety issues, saying that, you know, based on an engineering report that was recently done, there was failing roof panels that could be a safety concern for people who are inside the building. And we did hear from Premier Doug Ford today answering some questions, saying it wasn't actually just that. He said there was issues with the building from top to bottom and that it would take a lot more than just fixing some roof panels to actually fix this 55-year-old building. Have a listen to what he said.
At the end of the day, this is not a safe building. It's my responsibility as Premier to make sure people are safe. And when I have two engineering reports back to back, and I was briefed for over an hour, not just about the roof, about every issue you could possibly think of, it just doesn't make sense to throw good money into an old, decrepit building. We're going to build a state-of-the-art, world-class facility right down by Ontario Place. It's going to attract more people. It's going to have GO train service right basically outside the door, and it's going to be amazing.
So still a lot of questions surrounding the future of the Ontario Science Centre. As you heard from the Premier there is obviously plans, as we already knew, to move the Science Centre down to the waterfront in Toronto as part of the redevelopment process. But that wasn't expected to happen until the next couple of years. And so at this point, what happens to the building and that land? And the Premier did say today that he's leaving that up to the City of Toronto, to Mayor Olivia Chow, to deal with. But still a lot of questions that will need answered. And again, that news conference happening tomorrow, so we can expect to probably hear a lot more. Lena, Bakari?
All eyes on that. Lindsay Biscaya, thank you. 5:46, 22 degrees. This is Live at 5. George Clooney weighs in on whether Joe Biden should stay in the U.S. presidential race. We'll have more on what the prominent actor has to say about this coming up.
Well, Canada is preparing to reach its NATO commitment of spending 2% of its GDP on defense. Senior government sources say that the plan to reach the target is going to be unveiled tomorrow with the 75th NATO summit currently underway in Washington, D.C. Canada has faced increasing pressure to boost defense spending by NATO allies. As part of the new NATO contributions, Canada is also planning to purchase 12 submarines. The government says that the fleet is necessary to ensure the defense of Canada's three coasts. U.S. President Joe Biden addressed the NATO summit today and said that the alliance is stronger than ever.
Since I took office, we've doubled the number of battle groups in NATO's eastern flank, and the United States has. Finland and Sweden have joined the alliance, and the number of allies spending at least 2% on defense has gone from 9 to 23. That's not happened by chance, but by choice.
Canada has also announced an additional $500 million to help support Ukraine fight off Russia's ongoing invasion at the second day of the NATO summit. And the war has been a significant focus of the meetings in Washington.
And former U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi was asked in an interview with MSNBC if she believes Joe Biden should bow out of the race, but refused to give a clear answer. Watch this.
It's up to the president to decide if he is going to run. We're all encouraging him to make that decision because time is running short.
So, Madam Speaker, you just went through the So not a yes, not a no. Political watchers have been keeping an eye on Pelosi for signals about how top Democrats view Biden's candidacy after his disastrous debate performance last month. Pelosi also seen as someone who could influence the president. And staying with the story, a movie star and lifelong Democrat, George Clooney, is calling on Joe Biden to step away from the presidential race. Clooney says in a New York Times opinion piece that he loves Biden, but the party would lose the presidential race as well as any control in Congress with him as the nominee. Clooney has hosted several high-dollar Hollywood fundraisers and argued the party should pick a new nominee at its convention next month. He says it's not too late. He also says the process would be messy, but it would wake up voters in the party's favor.
Former Raptors player Jonte Porter entered a guilty plea today in a criminal case tied to the betting scandal that got him banned from the NBA.
Yeah, Porter pleaded guilty to conspiracy to commit wire fraud in a federal court in New York. Court documents show the case against him is related to an ongoing prosecution of 4 men. Porter was booted from the league this spring after it found he gambled on games and gave bettors confidential information about his health. His lawyer has said he is cooperating with authorities and getting treatment for gambling addiction. And a stunning finish between England and Netherlands at the European Championship.
What kids! Bang on 90 minutes!
Look at that, Ollie Watkins, the hero for England, scoring in the 90th minute of the 2-1 win, shocking the Dutch side. England makes its second straight final of the tournament. They're going to take on Spain for the Euro Cup Sunday afternoon.
5:53, 22 degrees. This is Live at 5. Coming up, a special story for you. A Toronto house you need to see to believe, and it could be yours. We'll explain next.
At a home that's long grabbed attention in Leslieville, it's going to be coming on the market soon. The dollhouse, as it's known, is on Burtmount Avenue. This is near Queen and Jones, and the front yard is something else. The owner has been displaying dolls, stuffed animals, toys, signs, and other items on the house and in the yard for over 20 years. And her son says that it's all about spreading happiness.
So I moved out about 20 years ago. And as I would come back to the house, I had noticed the dolls starting. And I'm like, what are you doing? And she's like, oh, I'm putting these dolls up. And it just progressed and progressed. And all of a sudden, people took to it. And next thing I know, they were all donating stuff to the house to put up. And it just got massive. It's all over social media. People come from all over the world. I was out here one day and somebody came from Australia, said they've heard about this on social media and they wanted to take a picture. So they started taking pictures.
Wow. And joining us now is Nadine Camo, the Toronto real estate agent taking on this job. You're outside this incredible home right now. Thank you for joining us. It's quite the spectacle. And you say the reaction to this going on the market has been overwhelming. Tell us more.
Well, it's been something different for sure. There's been a lot of questions, curiosity. Everybody loves the joy that it brings to the community. The kids come by, the daycare comes by every morning and says hello to their little friends. And it's a lot of fun. And so people are curious. They want to know. And of course, getting asked to do interviews with you guys and others has been really something different for me, for sure.
Yeah, Nadine, I remember when I first walked past the house, all I could do was literally stop and look. And then, of course, I took out my phone, put it on Snapchat. What does this home mean to the people who live around there?
Yes, this home really represents joy. It does. And that is the inspiration that Shirley, who's the mom here, when I talked to her, she said, this is all I want, is I want to spread happiness and joy. And that's why I've done this, why I've built this and created this. And I think that vibe has really resonated with the community and everyone who lives around here. So people are concerned about the family, of course, wanting to make sure that mom's doing okay and, the family's doing good and that, they're going to miss it. They're going to miss all of this.
I have to ask, do the dolls come with the house?
Yeah, that's the $1 million question. That will be all up to the potential buyers, and if they're interested in keeping some of these items, then everything is negotiable. But I think that the family would actually really enjoy to have a couple of days where we can maybe have the community come out and people pick a treasure to keep if they want to, and hold it close to their heart or put it out on their front lawn, and just to remember her by and her spirit of joy.
All right, Nadine, the listing goes live tomorrow. I'm pretty sure you're going to be getting a lot of phone calls. Nadine Comeau, a Toronto real estate agent, taking on this job. Thanks a lot.
Just fabulous. Thanks
You're
so much
welcome.
for joining us.
Thank you.
It's 5:59, 22 degrees. You're watching Toronto's breaking news, CP24. Thank you for watching. We're still dealing with bouts of rainfall tonight, so just remember to pack that umbrella if you're heading outside.
Yeah, CTV News at 6 is next.